Hey you! Yes, you, viewer, person scrolling through tip videos about Powell. Here's one that I hope you give some consideration, cause these are actually some good early game pals that can still carry you into the mid and even to the late game until you find much better pals for your base. And even then, they can still offer some value if you found one with a good work boosting skill. Let's get into it.
Is there more to us than the words we say, the games we play? Can we know that we're not dreaming?
So, firstly, let me just state that I'm not an expert by all means, and I don't focus on breeding. In fact, I just use what I'm given and the tools that I find. But if you're in a slower playstyle and you don't mind waiting around for a bit in the mid-late to late game, aka when you're in the 40s, then these pals will definitely help you out and serve you well in an early game to mid-late game state when it comes to base management. So starting off our list is going to be an early favorite of mine, Eikthyrdeer, an early game pal that has two specialties, planting and farming. For an early game pal that has a tier 2 planting specialty, it is very effective at planting farm seeds, given the other early game pals you can catch. With it in your base, you can stay safe in the knowledge that your farms will be seeded rather quickly and efficiently until you find other, more dedicated farming pals. However, keep in mind that for some odd reason, Eikthyrdeer seems to prioritize grazing in the ranch. So, if you really want to make full use of Eikthyrdeer's capabilities, you need to ensure a ranch is not present in the base with Eikthyrdeer, as despite my best efforts, Eikthyrdeer will for some odd reason focus on the ranch to release a single berry instead of sowing seeds to farm multiple berries. Up next is a pair of pals, as both offer the same kindling expertise. Despite being grade 1, again, if you can find even one with a pretty good work skill, artisan being the best obviously, these two can be vitally important to your base workforce. I am of course talking about Foxparks and Rudy. Until you find Arsox to replace them, and even if you do, these two can tag team to provide constant refining efforts and cooking work. With a few pal souls, a Foxparks and a Rudy with artisan skill each, and given 10 small pal souls and 6 medium pal souls each, can do the work of an Arsox with similar buffs. But unlike Arsox, who might get distracted by woodwork unless you remove any trees for it to chop down or work on, they will only focus on smelting and cooking. They might struggle later on to smelt huge bars of refined ingots in a timely manner, but until you get to that level, they'll basically serve you quite well. Third in line is a natural wood carver, or wood cutter as I should say, Eikthyrdeer. Relatively close to an early game state, the weakest I've seen one being is level 8. This deer is a wood cutting machine and will work tirelessly to get you the wood you need for your endeavors. All you need to do is just set up a wood chopping station, release the deer, provide it a bed, a spa, and a steady supply of food, and you'll get all the wood you'll ever need for the first 40 to 45 levels. Similar to Foxparks and Rudy, Eikthyrdeer will not get distracted by anything else and focus solely on chopping wood. I've kept one employed and never really needed any additional wood help. He chops wood so fast by himself that without dedicated transporters, he'll stack up more wood than you can carry some days. Up comes number 4, someone who can help with that transporting job, Daydream. Daydream may be slow getting to places when not tagging with the player, but what it does do is that it stays up all night and all day, taking short breaks to eat, enjoy a spa treatment, and, relax. It has 3 things it does, making it the first true multitasking pal on the list. But unless you're crafting things like pal spheres, weapons, armor, or saddles, then what Daydream does is spend all its time either harvesting farm plots or transporting items such as wood, stone, or food. This means If you employ a team of daytime pals that do things like sowing seeds, watering farms, chopping wood, and breaking stones, during the night, Daydream will focus solely on collecting the materials and storing them for later use. A team of Daydream can keep resources pouring into your box so you can keep your base's engine running smoothly even into the mid to late game. And finally, number 5, an underrated pal that deserves just as much spotlight as other pals on this list, Celery. Despite sounding like a food, Celery is a combo pal that waters and transports items at tier 1. It's not the best pal, but it's also not the worst pal, considering it's an early game based pal. Much like how Daydream during the night will only focus on transporting, during the day when the farm plots are watered, all Celery will focus on is transporting. A small team of Celery can make light work of transporting items, and once they finish their primary jobs of watering farms or creating paldium or flour, they can help Daydream with clearing up stone and wood stockpiles, as well as anything else on the ground, including items dropped in the ranch like wool and items from Eikthyrdeer, specifically berries, and finally transporting them to the storage box. And these are just 5 pals, 6 if you don't count Fox Parks and Rudy as one pal, as they both do the same with equal skill and speed, that can help manage and run your base from the earliest levels in your game until the mid to late game, when you're in the range and seeing level 40. And of course, find far better and superior pals that can do these tasks in your base. But even then, they might have some worth considering what they do. Now, keep in mind, these aren't meant to be there when you're level 50, unless you really enjoy seeing them running around your base, because for the most part, they aren't the strongest pals for base defense, and eventually you'll face raids that will basically slaughter them with how strong they are compared to your pals that aren't even in their 30s for the most part. But I've noticed in my second solo world, with a bit of soul investment and finding a few that have good work boosting skills, they are just as effective as some other pals found later on or in areas you might not be able to reach quickly enough. If you're also wondering why I didn't include a mining pal, it's because depending on where you build your base, you could get raided by the fangirls, aka Lavanders, and she'll be the best candidate for mining and can work during the night and is capable of crafting and transporting. Or you'll find yourself a Rush Roar who focuses solely on mining, similar to Eikthyrdeer. Also, please keep in mind, I'm not sure why certain pals seem to ignore their primary specialty, as this seems to require more testing on my part, because for some reason, as earlier stated, when I tried using Eikthyrdeer, who only is supposed to sow seeds and graze at the ranch, my Eikthyrdeer continues to only graze and release a single berry instead of planting 3 to 4 farms worth of berries. If you found this video helpful or useful, consider giving a like, commenting other early game pals that you've noticed that helped you immensely in your playthrough. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And I'll see you all next time. Don't let the level 3 syndicate thug with the club get you on your way out. Bye-bye!
Just come to me, you'll be safe from harm. If you trust in me, then I'll trust in you. There's nothing more that I need to do. If you put your hands in front of mine,